Caruso runs a break. Caldwell Pope goes to the wing here. James! Oh!
Trying to play at the defensive end, got blown by back.
Oh, yes!
Hook jam!
Harden, step back, puts up the three, got hit, shot's good, and one!
Back this time, here's Steph.
Oh, Russell Westbrook!
We've been hearing about Karis LeVert, Dinwiddie, and Jared Allen, other players on the team, in trade talks as I transition into the next topic about James Harden. And, watching this team play, I really don't even think they need James Harden. I think what they have is enough to win the championship.
Definitely. Too many chefs in the kitchen.
It's too many chefs in the kitchen. That's why I said earlier about with Karis LeVert coming off the bench. I think that's perfect. Like, if you so just think about it when you're throwing away. If you just trade away Dinwiddie or Karis, like, so you're gonna have James Harden to start, and just like I said, watching Kyrie and KD, bounce off each other. Kyrie playing, we seen Kyrie play on, like, so far some of the best basketball we ever seen him play in a while. So far,
oh yeah.
Like I said, I don't want to get too hyped up just of the first couple of games we've seen in the regular season, but just from so far and the mentality that Kyrie has been having, and just the comfortability that I'm just seeing him play with, and just I feel like he's bought into the team mindset that Steve Nash and that the Brooklyn Nets organization trying to set into place. It's kind of the best version of Kyrie that I've seen since his first Boston year. I think that first Boston year, I think he's pretty good
definitely.
too. So
definitely.
Just thinking about, like, you throw Harden into that mix, I just think it kind of it's good on paper, if you doing like how you do, like our minor league teams, we fantasy drafting a team, it looks cold and whatnot, but you think of like teammate chemistry, who get what touches, who's taking the last shot, who's controlling the pace of the game, if you throw James Harden into that mix, I feel like it's kind of going to throw it off a bit, Let's train, like I said, let's fully go into it now. Let's go into just James Harden all together.
Yeah.
Where do you see this man going? Because, like, we see this fiasco with him. First it started with Russell Westbrook. Russ is gone. He got his trade. He's in Washington. They traded him for John Wall. It's over with. He's gone. That's been settled. But James Harden is still in Houston, and he has in himself where Russell came out himself and said, "I'm out. I know. I want to go." Harden hasn't explicitly come out and said, I want to trade, but we've been hearing it through these sources of, like, he wants to leave, and through his actions, him being a little baby at the parties in Vegas and in Atlanta, the media's getting kind of tight on him, even when he's not doing anything. They blamed him for the COVID outbreak that the team had. Turned out not to be him, turned out to be Eric Gordon, to be a kind of a contact tracer. Where do you see James Harden going if he gets traded this year? That's my first question about James Harden. I got another one for you.
Okay, yeah. If he gets traded, I think the only place he could go is Philly. I think that Ben Simmons is the best of any of the young players that they'd be able to get in the trade package. Because for him to go to Boston, they'd have to give up Jaylen Brown or Tatum. They're not getting rid of either of those guys. If he went to Atlanta, they'd have to give up Trae Young. They don't really have anybody else they'd want because they don't want John Collins. They already got Christian Wood, who I think has been playing phenomenal.
They just had Clint Capella.
And they got, Clint Capella is somebody that, really wouldn't matter. I don't know if they would want to put John Collins at that, if they would want to put John Collins in the center spot, but I don't know. I just don't think that that's a good trade package. And even still, they wouldn't want John Collins. They're going to want somebody like Trae Young. He's obviously not getting moved. Looking at, like you mentioned with Brooklyn, I don't think that really, for one, Spencer Dinwiddie's going to be a big piece of that deal, and he's out for the season, so they're not going to trade for damaged goods. Then team like, just for giggles, like the Clippers, I don't think they just signed PG that big contract. They don't have any picks. I don't think that's going to happen.
Time out. I'm going to pause you on that real quick because I made a tweet about this because it's real. You remember when Blake Griffin signed his max deal with the Clippers a couple years ago?
I remember. Oh, yeah.
And he had that press conference like, I want to be a Clipper for life, blah, blah, blah. Traded. Not too long after that. I tweeted. Right. I said, PG said he won't be a Clipper for the rest of his life.
He out of here.
Blake Griffin, I said, ask the last person that said that and see what happened to him. It was Blake Griffin. He got traded.
I don't think it's gonna happen though. I just feel like I think it'll be a good trade, honestly, for both teams. I think it'll be the best trade, honestly, because I'm not sold on Ben Simmons.
So
plus, they already got John Wall, and they're really like the same guy, honestly. So that doesn't really make sense to me, unless they really just don't care about winning right now and then just hold Ben Simmons as a piece for later when John Wall's contract is up. I don't know, but I think the only place he could go is Philly. But I'm going to be real with you. the more and more I think about it, and especially after watching that last game and then hearing his comments about their new coach. Can't remember his name.
Steven Silas.
Yeah, Steven Silas. He spoke really highly of him. He played really good basketball. They're winning. And I think with John Wall and Boogie come back and they actually get a good chemistry with each other, and Christian Wood's been playing phenomenal.
Christian Wood playing really good.
Role players are playing great. Yeah. I mean, they look good. And I feel like there's no trade package out there that the Houston Rockets really want. They're winning. James Harden at least sounds like he's not as upset about being there as I thought. And I mean, he was actually mad about messing up that last play. So he wouldn't really worry about that too much if he didn't care about winning. So it shows he still bought at least somewhat into the organization. I'm certainly more towards he stays in Houston.
So I've been like just talking about this, amongst people. I know, you kind of talked about this before too on the phone. What James Harden has been doing, and I've been watching other people talk about this too to kind of get more of an inside scoop, what's been going on, because I'm not in the mix like that to really know everything. But what James Harden's been doing it's I don't know, it's kind of puzzling because this man has created he got traded from OKC to Houston for Kevin Martin and Jeremy Lamb because OKC didn't want to go over that luxury tax and want to keep Serge Ibaka. Would have cost
in NBA history.
All for $6 million. It was really only for $6 million. They could have just paid that. And, since he got to Houston, he transformed that entire organization. And he's built it to where it fits James Harden. Like, Kevin McHale was there. He had Dwight there at first. Dwight's gone. McHale's gone. You get D'Antoni. You get these players. You get Eric Gordon. You get PJ Tucker, who, his career got, I ain't gonna say revitalized because he was in the league. He was in the league for a minute, but his career got saved. Houston became a place where a lot of careers actually kind of got saved. Ben McLemore, we saw that last season too.
Right.
Austin Rivers, who's on his way out of the league, he kind of got saved there too. He built this entire roster around him and his system and his organization to cater to him, and for him to build it up the way he has, and for him to want to leave, it kind of I don't know. I don't know if I don't want to call him a diva.
I think it's entitlement. It is diva. It's very entitled.
I don't. But
I guess it is very. You gonna complain about the sheets? You made the bed.
It is very entitlement.
You ordered all of this. Everything you got in here. This is all stuff you ordered. You went to IKEA and you bought all this furniture. Now you're gonna look around the room and say, "Eh, it doesn't feel very homey to me." I just don't think that's very fair. At the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. It's no like I'm very much pro player mobility, but I also don't like the idea of the organizations pretty much getting screwed. I mean, he still has years on his contract. We've been seeing this with a lot of players where no matter how many years are on their contract, no matter how much they're getting paid, no matter what the team situation and how they've been catered to is, they just say, I don't want to be here anymore. And it's like their contract doesn't even matter. And I've always disliked that. I talked about this last year with Andre Iguodala basically saying with the Grizzlies, I'm not going to play. I just feel like that's BS. Obviously, James Harden's playing, and he's playing very well. So it's not like he's not going out there and playing. But I just don't like this idea of players being able to do whatever they want and then just kick the bucket whenever they feel like it and just force their way out of town, no matter what contract they're getting and still getting paid.
So while you say that, because James Harden's not the first person to do this, and it's interesting too that you brought it up because how unfair it is because this new CBA contract is coming up very soon. And James Harden, like I said, is not the first player to do this in recent history. AD, he kind of did the same type of tactic when he kind of wanted to force his way out of New Orleans. He got injured. He came back actually again. I went to he played against Indiana. He played very well, but then he just stopped playing after that. I think he just shut himself down. Gentry just kind of went with it. And we saw the last game where he came out in the shirt saying that's all folks. And, Rich Paul and them. AD wasn't himself saying nothing as much, but Rich Paul, him being with Clutch Sports, it was kind of pulling the strings get him out of here. We want him in LA. And that whole type of fiasco. We've seen this reoccurrence of players now with James Harden who getting catered to, they become the franchise player, this and that. And when things don't go their way, it's I want to leave. It kind of forced their way out. How does this affect, how does this affect other players in the future? Because like I said, the new CBA contract coming up soon, and these owners, they kind of getting upset with this, and and these small market teams as well, they kind of it's kind of hard to keep these players. And if Giannis would have done the same thing, He could possibly still do it. Granted, he signed a Supermax extension to get that money. He could possibly still do the same thing too, and that's gonna be a big hit to Milwaukee. I know everybody was happy. Some people was happy that he decided to stay in Milwaukee because Milwaukee's a small market. But players like James Harden, we haven't seen too many players, continue to stay with their franchise. So
I think I was gonna say on that tip, you got to think people own these companies. There aren't these teams. They're basically companies. These
right.
people are billionaires. They have cut their teeth and made the money to own these teams from being very savvy, very smart, very pragmatic business people. And when they are met with adversity or factors in contracts and deals that they don't like, what do smart business people do? They try to find a way out of them. I think with this new CBA, there's going to be some new protections and new revisions to how contracts are structured. That if a player just wants to be on that, oh, okay. Well, we're just not going to pay you for the games that you miss. We're just not going to pay you for this. Oh, we're going to fine you every time you do that. And it's going to get to a point where players can do what they want, but they will be met with consequences. Like my thing is right now, I don't really care. You can do whatever you want. I think James Harden going to the club with no mask and then exposing his entire team to the point that they couldn't even play a game because nobody was eligible to play.
That wasn't his fault. I just told you that wasn't his fault. He wasn't the contract trade. He wasn't the contact trace. It was Eric Gordon.
It was Oh, okay.
They tried to blame him for it because it wasn't the party with Lil Baby and stuff that he was worried about. He posted a video of where he went to go celebrate some girl that he knows about her promotion, and they tried to blame him for it, but it wasn't him.
Okay. In that case, I apologize. That's my bad. But outside of stuff like that, you can do whatever you want, but you're gonna be penalized. Same way. Oh, you can choose not to come to work today, but you're not gonna get your check for an 8-hour shift that you didn't work. As long as that happens, I'm cool with it. If you're willing to sacrifice your paycheck, you can do whatever you want. It's your world.
Yeah, and with James Harden, kind of forcing his way out or trying to force his way out, kind of subliminally, not answering questions with the media. It's interesting to see. I have no say in this because I was a Rockets fan, but that's because Russell was there. I'm following Russell. I don't know how I'm feeling about the Wizards.
29
but hey, shut up. My real team's the Pacers. We doing all right. We lost to Boston last night. We 3-1. It's whatever. But, Daryl Morey coming out was ready to speak on tampering a little bit. He just got fined $50K for him tweeting out how James Harden just passed the all-time assist leaders with the Houston Rockets. And, talking about how he wanted to go with Philly and that deal from Ben Simmons. I don't see that as the best deal. I think
there is no best deal. The best deal for the Houston Rockets is to keep James Harden.
You're wrong. So there's two teams you didn't really mention that's kind of been tossed around as much too, Portland and Denver. So with Denver, you get rid of Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr., throwing some picks. That's a good.
They're not getting rid of MP. They're not getting rid of MPJ.
They don't want to.
That's one thing. That's one thing. There are packages out there that technically on paper make sense. But none of that matters if you're not willing to give it up. Like if I come to you, Kendall, and I say, hey, those are some nice beats. I'll give you $500 for that. That's a good deal, but it only works if you want to sell the beats. So my thing is, the Boston Celtics, that'd be a good package. They gave up Jaylen Brown and Tatum or something like that. But will they? No. Atlanta would be a good package. They gave up Trae Young. Will they? No. New York Nuggets, so they give up UKG.
What about Portland?
No.
What about Portland getting CJ McCollum?
CJ McCollum is 30. Wait, come on. CJ McCollum is 30. He is a fringe all-star. How old is he?
30. He's 20. He has to be 28. He's younger than Damian. Damian just turned 30.
He's basically so he's in that era. He's in that gray space of not being young, not being old.
He's in his prime.
CJ McCollum.
So you throwing CJ McCollum, you throw him Zach Collins, you give him Robert Covington back, I guess.
No.
Carmelo.
So wait, Kendall.
Some picks. The Trailblazers got some players. You throwing some players there.
Kendall, I want you to really think about this right now. All right.
All right.
You want me to trade? Let's say that I'm the Rockets. I'm the Rockets. It's me. I'm the Rocket guy. And
Raphael Stone.
Yeah, Rob. I'm Dr. Stone. I'm Mr. Stone here. Okay, and you, my good friend, are an executive for the Trailblazers, and you come to me and say, "Hey, I want you to trade the 4th through 7th best player, whatever you want to say, 4th through 7th best player in the NBA for a fringe all-star who is as good as he's ever going to be, for some young players who aren't really that young, for some draft picks that ain't going to be that good because you have James Harden, which means you're not going to be a bad team. Straight up. What would you say? What would you say to that?
Now, okay, so here's the thing about that. So when you look at it just straight on paper, you're not throwing in any circumstances, it looks silly, right? Because with these trades that usually happen with these mega players, with these superstars, usually ends up bad for for the other teams. But I think that the Carmelo and Denver trade didn't end up bad. I think Denver still got a bunch of good players. I never heard people talk about that. They say every superstar trade that ever happened never ends up good for the team. But I think Denver ended up good. But with James Harden, the way he's been acting right now, and you see how not his draft stock, but his stock is kind of, I wouldn't say plummeting, but it's kind of going down. So where it's gonna get to a point eventually where teams but the way he's acting is benefiting other teams. Where Houston right now is patient, they're not in a rush. Other teams looking at it, they're like, all right, keep doing your thing, because now we know that you are becoming more of a cancer to that team, and it's gonna get to a point where Houston's gonna just want to let you go for anything. So
I mean, I see that, but also no. I'm sorry. I'm
not
trading James Harden. I'm not trading James Harden for anything unless it's these three things. And honestly, they should be a package, but at least these three things. An established all-star, a young player with top 10 player in the league potential, or a ton of draft picks. Really, I need all three of those. But
no team offers that. Unless
the Celtics could. The Celtics could. Let's say they put together a package of Kemba Walker. I mean, they're not going to trade Taylor.
That's not happening. You only losing one player. They're not losing.
But no. But imagine Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, and a ton of picks, and then maybe another role player thrown in there. I would take that deal. I would take that deal.
They're not doing that.
They're not. That's what I'm saying, because nobody's doing all that for James Harden. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. That's why I think he's going to stay in Houston for a while. He's not getting traded anytime soon. It'll be earliest deadline. Earliest. It won't be before that.
James Harden might go down as one of those best players who won't win a championship. That's all right. It happens, people.
Maybe there with Russ.
All right. Anyways.